Hola, me llamo Jorge Zubieta y quiero darles la bienvenida a esta entrevista de GIRO positivo. Ian Usher, el hombre que vendió su vida por internet en eBay y que vivió y escribió acerca de 100 metas en 100 semanas. Una de esas 100 metas fue precisamente estar en el Día de Muertos en la ciudad de Oaxaca, y ahí fue donde nos conocimos. Esta entrevista habla básicamente acerca de la relación entre fijarse objetivos en la vida, cumplir metas y cómo se relaciona todo esto con la felicidad. Muy bien, vamos a empezar esta entrevista. Les invito a acompañarnos con Ian Usher desde Colorado, en Estados Unidos, y conmigo desde Chipre, en el Mediterráneo. Good morning. Buenos días, buenas noches en Colorado, Ian.
Yes, good evening from here, and good morning to you. You're a day ahead of me there, aren't you?
Right, correcto. Por favor, dinos acerca de tus metas. ¿Cuál era la complejidad de llevarlas a cabo?
I've always been excited by the sort of adrenaline activity, so there was a couple of skydive goals in there, the running of the bulls in Pamplona, flying in a jet fighter plane, and riding a motorcycle on the wall of death. Learn to speak much better French than I could speak, learn to play a harmonica, learn to play a didgeridoo, you know, the wooden Australian.
Sí, con una vibración muy poderosa.
Yeah, fantastic. There was an awful lot of places I just wanted to see. You know, I wanted to see New York, I wanted to see Las Vegas, I wanted to walk to Everest Base Camp, I wanted to walk on the Great Wall of China, go and see the Statue of Liberty. Trying to go and see Taj Mahal meant nothing in the end, really. It was this experience with this wonderful family who was so kind and so generous. I wanted to put a few goals in there that didn't seem quite so self-absorbed as some of them were. I was fundraising for colon cancer research, which is what unfortunately took my father much earlier in his life than it should have done. And I worked in a soup kitchen on Christmas Day. I've always been a big fan of Richard Branson, who Virgin Group, Virgin Airlines and Virgin Records and so on. Another incredible experience I had was in Japan. I went swimming with a mother humpback whale and her calf, and I've never been so close. She was only 2 or 3 meters away. I've never been so close to such a beautiful, enormous creature. Just the sort of power and size of her. She was absolutely beautiful.
Otro de tus objetivos, Ian, era publicar un libro. Ahora que tu libro ha sido publicado, Ian, ¿qué argumentos podría tener alguien que quisiera decir que Ian Usher es el líder experto en fijarse y cumplir metas?
Oh, I don't know. I would be extremely flattered to be considered any kind of expert in anything, really. I was just... You know, all this sort of, that type of thing makes me laugh, really, because I was just going out and doing the stuff I wanted to do. You know, these were just all things that excited me to go and do. But I guess, yeah, you know, I guess it does show that if you really set your mind to it and you write these things down and you make a plan, it's incredible what you can achieve when you set your mind to it. What was the question? I've forgotten what the question was.
Sí, la pregunta es ¿cuáles serían los datos, los hechos que podrían ayudarle a alguien para decir que tú eres un experto en esta materia?
I guess the fact that out of a list of 100 goals, all of which were quite challenging, I achieved 93 of them in less than 2 years. I think that fact stands for itself, really. It speaks for itself.
Hagamos un ejercicio de tener una visión a futuro. ¿Cómo verías este mundo, Ian, si todas las personas se sentaran a escribir sus 100 metas en una hoja de papel y se dedicaran a salir al mundo a tratar de cumplirlas? ¿Qué cambios habrían?
Can you imagine that? It would be a pretty frantic place, I think, people dashing around all over like I was for a couple of years. I certainly think the world would be probably a much more productive place and perhaps a much happier place too, because if everyone was working, like we were just saying, if everyone's working towards things that really are important to them and they're achieving them as well, you know, it's once you start writing down a list of goals and then say, right, what do I need to do to achieve that goal? And then you start doing it. You know, it's only a matter of taking the first step and then taking the next step and then taking the next step. Then what an amazing place the world would be if everyone was sort of achieving these things instead of just sort of wondering what life's about and what they should be doing. That would be amazing.
Ahora estamos prácticamente conversando acerca del significado de la vida y qué hacer con ella.
Yeah, I don't think I've really come across the answer to the meaning of life, but it's interesting looking for it, I guess. And I guess everyone's answer to what the meaning of life is fairly personal anyway, isn't it? We all have a different outlook on what our life's maybe supposed to be about or what we should be doing with it.
Hay algo que escribiste en tu página de internet y realmente es el arranque de esta entrevista. Y quiero citarte en esto. Tú escribiste, estoy emocionado por mi futuro y realmente no tengo idea de dónde me llevarán estos eventos. Amo la naturaleza aventurera de este proyecto y estoy emocionado de un nuevo comienzo. Al oír esto, yo creo que cualquier persona en el mundo diría que tu elección de vida fue algo muy creativo, completamente fuera de la caja. ¿No es así, Ian?
I would have to agree. Yes, it's probably not. It's probably not a choice that most people would make to put their whole life for sale up on eBay and then set off to travel the world for 2 years. I've always been a believer that life is about experience, and we all only get one go at life. And for me, I believe I want to pack in as much exciting and unusual experience as possible into it. So when life presented me with some challenges, this was the way I decided to deal with it.
Así que esta fue tu respuesta ante algo, ¿cómo lo dirías? Ante una circunstancia no invitada de tu pasado. Algo te ocurrió y esta fue tu manera original de responder ante esa circunstancia. ¿Cuál sería la diferencia entre una respuesta de este tipo y una respuesta ante una circunstancia o evento en el futuro, como por ejemplo lo que se le dice a la gente del fin del mundo, el calendario maya? ¿Cuál sería la diferencia? ¿Sería algo similar como esa manera que tú tuviste tan singular de enfrentar el evento en tu vida y decidir qué quieres hacer con ella?
If you really believe the world's going to end on the 21st of December next year, then if there's stuff you want to do, I suggest you go on and get it done. And if the world doesn't end, then it's a bonus. You've got some extra time, but you've achieved some of the things you wanted to achieve, you know.
Este proyecto fue en un principio algo muy innovador y tú no tenías una idea muy clara de hacia dónde te iba a llevar este camino. Aún así, tuviste una clasificación de metas muy detallada, con una línea de tiempo para completarla y se ve todo muy estructurado. Cuéntanos, Ian, ¿cómo sucedió todo esto?
Well, it started, the unfortunate catalyst for putting my life up for sale on eBay was the separation from my wife. I was married and lived in Australia, and I discovered that life had a surprise in store for me, and my marriage didn't continue the way I expected it was going to. So decided for me it was time to get rid of everything, and decided it was all going to be listed as one big auction on eBay. It did eventually develop into, I was asked many times, what will you do after you've sold your life? And eventually that developed into a list of 100 goals with a timeline of 100 weeks to try and achieve those, which, yes, is from the outset, I guess, looks like a very structured and organized sort of thing. But for me, it probably feels like a duck on water. You know, it all looks calm and flat on the surface, but underneath the duck's feet are paddling away quickly. So the website looks organized. I had some wonderful help putting the website together, but behind that, I was planning stuff like the night before. Sometimes it was all very much last minute planning.
¿Qué hay acerca del papel que juega la felicidad en todo esto? Esta cacería que llevamos a cabo en nuestra vida moderna acerca de conseguir la felicidad. ¿Cuál es la relación entre conseguir metas y la felicidad, Ian?
I think it is to a large degree. If you set a list of goals, then they are things that are personal to you and things that you want to achieve. So if you're spending your time working towards things that you have picked that you want to achieve, there's got to be a great deal of happiness in that, rather than working towards someone else's goals, or working in a job that you hate and that you're just turning up because you get paid for it. It must be much more satisfying to be doing the things that you want to be doing.
Hablemos del factor dinero. Mucha gente no consigue sus metas porque dice que no tiene dinero. Muchísimas gracias por quedarte con nosotros durante esta entrevista con Ian Usher. Te invitamos a que por favor entres a nuestra página de Giro Positivo en Facebook. Es facebook.com/Giro Positivo. Y ahí podrías darle clic al botón de me gusta y también llenar el formulario para suscribirte al newsletter de Giro Positivo. Muy bien. Vamos a seguir más adelante con la segunda parte de esta entrevista con el hombre que vendió su vida por eBay, y que seas alegre en tu trabajo y en tu vida. Nos vemos pronto.